Hey, welcome back to Spellbound. I'm BJ the Book Witch, and this is my April TBR. Okay, so I've put my list together for April, and we're looking at about 10 books, which is a little less than my normal monthly average. But so far, I've been doing a pretty great job of hitting almost every one of my outline TBRs and also reading some extra books too. And in the middle of March, I hit my 50th book for the year, so I think I'm doing okay, and I'm gonna give myself a little bit of a reading break for the month of April. So let's get started. In fiction, I'm reading Romanov by Nadine Brandis. So because I already have a rough idea of what this book is probably going to be about, I didn't want to look too far into specifics to see what the ins and outs of the plot's going to be. So because of that, I really don't know if this is historical fiction or YA or genre fiction. But let's be honest, I was sucked in by the cover art anyway, and either way, I'm hooked. So my YA book for this month is actually our content team book club's pick for the month, and that's going to be Bitterblue by Kristin Cashore. So this is the third in the Graceling universe, and in this universe, some people are born with special powers called graces, and when that happens, they're given to their king, and they sort of belong to the kingdom like an asset. So this book is technically the sequel, I believe, to the first one, where the second book in the series was kind of just a companion set in the same universe. So I'm really looking forward to this one, especially since it kind of revisits a little bit of some of the characters, I hope, from the first one. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. But while we're on the subject, can we just talk about how we feel when an author or publisher changes the cover art halfway through the series? Am I the only one who is completely thrown off by that? I'm not a big fan. For YA, and for fantasy books, I really like to have hardcover versions. That's the only thing I'm like really picky about on my shelf. Everything else I'm fine with paperbacks, but I just think that hardcover copies are just so beautiful. And so I don't really like whenever they change the cover halfway through a series, because then that really just messes with my aesthetic. So, okay, let me just explain to you what I'm talking about here, because you might have thought that I was nuts, but like hear me out, okay? First three books, right? Look at how great they are. Graceling, Kristin Cashore, pretty, a little metallic, and it has like an eyeball in here. I'm trying to see it. Yeah, okay, and it's got like a weapon. Cool. Sequel, Fire. It's also a little bit reflective. It's got the foil over the letters and another weapon. No eyeball, but like a silhouette of a mouth kind of up here. See? Mouth. In a similar vein, it's not exactly a weapon, but it's keys, gold foil, and an eyeball right here through the keys. See, like a face, right? Cool, right? Now, I don't hate this cover, but it's not the same. There is no gold foil. They're not even embossed. And it's a completely different art style. Now, like I said, I don't hate it. I really don't. I really like it. It's pretty. There's no way to get this type of style for the first three books in hardcover. Anyway, you can only get the new style in paperback. So now I have like three books in a series, and they all match, and then the fourth one doesn't. And anyway, I have feelings about it. Couldn't tell. Moving on. In literary fiction, I'm reading Tell the Wolves I'm Home by Rifka Brunt. And this is a debut novel by this author, and it is a coming-of-age story about 14-year-old June, who, after her gay uncle dies of AIDS in the 1980s, she develops a friendship and a bond with his boyfriend. So this is supposed to be very beautiful, and I believe it was a New York Times bestseller, according to itself, it was. So I'm looking forward to this one. My classic for this month is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. Now, if you can believe it, I actually haven't ever read this book. But you know me, I love a good Faustian setup, and in this, a dude sells his soul for, I believe, eternal life. But we'll find out pretty soon, because I cannot wait to get into this book. And additionally, can we talk about the current leather-bound Barnes & Noble editions right now of these classics? I'm into it. They're bendy, so you have like the beautiful spine and cover and everything of your classic sort of hardbound Barnes & Noble editions, but they're bendy like paperbacks, and I'm so into it. And they have quotes on the back. I have a few editions of different classics like this. I believe I had to check. I have Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and I have Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And the quote on the back says, "If it were I to be always young, and the picture that was to grow old, for that I would give everything." Oscar Wilde, The Picture of Dorian Gray. So I'm super pumped. I'm just excited to see what this is all about. I am pretty positive that I'm going to love this book. So my nonfiction for this month is another borrow from my brother's shelf. This one actually just came in a few days ago, and I snatched it right out of his hands and said that I absolutely had to read it first. And it is Grace O'Malley, A Biography of Ireland's Pirate Queen. So I mentioned before that I love pirates, and I'm not really sure if the depth of that affection really came across. But I am a little bit obsessed with pirates. I love pirate lore, pirate culture, pirate history. I love any and all YA fantasy and middle grades that involve pirates of any kind. I just really love reading about pirates. So I'm really excited for this one. And this will be a little bit different from the type of nonfiction that I usually read. The type of nonfiction I usually read is usually about philosophy, religion, or American race politics. So just giving myself a little bit of a break here and reading about pirate queens. Also, with regard to my intense adoration for pirates, I do want to offer an example here. This is one of my favorite books of all time. This is one of the first YAs that I ever came across when I was in middle school. It's the unfortunately named, let's be honest, Pirates by Celia Reese. And it is a well-loved book. For example, this is what it looks like. It has completely come out of its binding. It is a well-loved book. So in middle grade, I actually have 2 picks for this month. And the first is Kiki's Delivery Service by Eiko Kadono. So I tried looking up the pronunciation of this author online, and I couldn't find it anywhere. So if anybody does know the correct pronunciation of her name, I would really love to learn it. If you could just let me know in the comments below. I'd appreciate that. But I love this film by Studio Ghibli. It's one of my all-time favorites. I actually didn't think that I would like it because of the low-stakes plot, but that ended up being why I love it so much. It is just a very simple, beautiful, happy story about a young witch, and she is leaning into her powers, and she flies away from home for a little while and kind of just comes of age and learns some responsibility and values of friendship and found family. And I just love it, and I'm excited to see the similarities and differences between the book and the film. So Stories Untold Press reached out to me and asked if I would review The Crowns of Croswald by D.E. Knight. And this is about 16-year-old Ivy who crosses the boundary between the regular world and the magical world and discovers that she has powers. So everything about that sounds right up my alley, so I am looking forward to reading it very soon. So my spiritual or witchy book for this month is also a little bit different too, and I chose a really lighthearted read called Ask Baba Yaga, Otherworldly Advice for Everyday Troubles, and this is by Taisia, Kitaiskaia. And this is written just like an advice column, like for a paper, and it is adorable, and it just addresses all kinds of different issues, you know? For example, this one is called Where Are the Legit Dudes? Dear Baba Yaga, as the years pass on, I become more and more disillusioned with men. Are all the legit dudes hiding somewhere? How do I rekindle my belief in men? Baba Yaga says, You seek too much. You are like a hawk flying over the canopy, and all the tender little ones hide afraid. Why do you need to hold one in your talons and call him yours? Use your beak and strength to gather berries and make a goodly nest in which you wish to live, and then some handsome and unseen creature may present himself, equal to your plumage, your sharp, quick eye. So, if you couldn't tell, it is written in poetry, in pretty loose verse, and I am not a huge fan of poetry, but I do appreciate her style here of how she offers some poetic advice for these advice columns. So my thriller for this month is The Changeling by Victor Laval. So I never did get a chance to read this one back in February like I wanted to for Blackathon, but I am committed this month. And this book follows Apollo as he tries to find his newborn baby and his wife Emily after she commits an atrocious act. And as the name suggests, this is a modern take on a classic fairy tale or a classic fairy tale concept. So it looks and sounds hella creepy, and I'm into it. And in romance, guys, I'm doing it. I am jumping on the red, white, and royal blue bandwagon by Casey McQuiston. This is a romance story about the son of a president and a British prince. And not gonna lie, it looks cute as hell, so I am kind of looking forward to it. So that's it for me for this one. Just a quick video to pop in and share with you my reading goals for April. Now all I have to do is start reading. But what about you? Have you read any of these before? Did you like them? Did you hate them? Let me know in the comments below, and also tell me what you're reading this month and if you have any additional suggestions. If you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you loved it, hit subscribe. And don't forget to ring the bell, because I'll be bringing you bookish and witchy content every week. And as always, happy reading!